भी अपने तरीके से और
Hello and welcome. I'm Megha Sharma, and joining us today is Mr. Aleksandr Dugin. He's a Russian philosopher who is a staunch supporter of the Russian President Vladimir Putin and has often been referred to as Putin's brain, sometimes even being held responsible for shaping Russian foreign policy. In August 2022, at the start of the Ukraine-Russia war, he lost his daughter to a car bomb attack, while speculation being rife that the target of the attack was, in fact, Aleksandr Dugin himself. He has been sanctioned by countries like United States of America, Canada, Japan and Ukraine. His books have been banned in the United States of America under the Biden administration, his ideas being termed as quote-unquote too dangerous. So let's understand from Aleksandr Dugin his point of view of the Ukraine-Russia crisis and the global developments that are taking place in the current circumstances. Thank you, Mr. Dugin, for joining me on the telecast on NewsX World.
Yeah, you are welcome. I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to speak with Indian audience.
My first question to you, Mr. Dugin, is the current crisis in Russia and Ukraine. There seems to be no end in sight for the war. What do you think, and why do you think it is so difficult to agree to a ceasefire?
I think that we need to put this war in the concrete geopolitical and historical context. This war was provoked by the desire of the global West, the global hegemony to keep eternally its rule over the world and not let multipolarity to emerge. So the growth of sovereignty in Russia as well in China or in India, the shaping of the multipolar world that has replaced the unipolarity was the geopolitical origin of that. And the Western elites, globalist elite, tried to subvert, to destroy this emerging multipolarity. And they have prepared the coup in Maidan in 2014 in order to transform Ukraine in a kind of stronghold of the hatred toward Russia and provocation of the Russia in order to involve Russia in the conflict in Ukraine. So all that was planned, and Russia responded to that, to this challenge by unification of the Crimea and the support for the eastern Ukraine. And finally, in 2022, the result was the beginning of the special military operation. Why this war could not be stopped? Because no one now have the position that could be acceptable.
Okay.
Neither us, nor Ukraine, nor the globalists in the West. Only Trump would like to put the end to the hostility, because the concrete results don't concern him too much.
All right. Talking about the US President Donald Trump, how do you view his role in the Ukraine-Russia war? Do you see Donald Trump getting any closer to bringing Ukraine and Russia to the negotiating table for a peace deal? His previous attempts have been snubbed by President Putin, as we saw in wake of the Middle East talks that were taking place, and also some sort of a potential for bringing President Putin and Zelensky on the peace table in Turkey just a few weeks ago.
I think that Trump has declared many times already in different situations that it wasn't his war. It isn't his war. That is Biden's war. Or today he has written in his social truth network that it is Zelensky's, Putin's, and Biden's war, not Trump's war. So he has no reason in his geopolitical vision of the world to continue supply Ukraine with weapon, with money. So he seriously wants to stop it, but he does not know how, because American national interests are not involved in this war, and that doesn't concern him. So he has the will, desire, sincere desire to put the end to this war, but he couldn't enter in details. He doesn't understand the reason of this conflict. He lacks the knowledge of the Russian history, European history, and he wants to organize peace talks, ceasefire, and maybe peace, establish peace, but he only now he is confronting really with the positions and the interests and the desires of the other. So his Trump's words, they have no magic influence on the participants.
But then
so he tries to do that, but he
just a few weeks ago, in fact, perhaps a little more than a month, that incident happened where Kremlin came out and termed Trump's foreign policy as largely coinciding with Russia's vision. Now, what is this vision? And are you at this time more trusting of the US administration under Donald Trump for any kind of a peace deal to be signed, if at all it is signed in the future?
So first of all, I prefer to separate these topics. First of all, I am very happy with Trump's MAGA project, Make America Great Again project, because that means acceptance of the multipolarity, acceptance of the global powers world order. And I have written recently my book on the conservative revolution of Donald Trump, praising his efforts to reorganize the architecture of the global relations, international relations, on the new principles, on the political realism. So political realism recognize the right to be sovereign to the other. That is total opposition to the liberalism in international relations. So I think that we can achieve many common points with Trump. And Russia doesn't contradict to the American national interest. We have nothing against, for example, unification with Canada, or annex Greenland or something like that, to create a system of security around United States. But we are strongly against globalism, against liberal agenda that denies the right to the country to be sovereign. So I think that is about that. So Trump agrees on multipolarity, and we defend multipolarity, BRICS structure, our relations with a global South. All that is inscribed in this multipolar project. And Trump, after a moment he came to the power, he stopped to fight against that, as Biden's administration did, and started to accept that generally. So we have many common points with Trump on the global level, but I think that the Ukraine is not the main situation, main field of these possible agreements.
How do you view the accumulating pressure from the European heads of states of increased sanctions, suspension of trade with Russia? Will this not further debilitate Russia?
Absolutely. We stand already for 3 years under the terrible sanctions. So they have cut almost all connections with themselves. But nevertheless, Ukraine, the Western European economy hugely depending from Russia. So they hit themselves. So it is not easy to overcome sanctions for us, but I think that the sanctions, they make much more damage for European economy. And I think we could stand them more and more, because now we have revised our economic politics, so we rely much more on our own production industry. We started reindustrialization of Russia, and I think that gave the very positive result for our economy. So we have very reliable partners as India, as China, as the other countries that are not under direct control of the global West, and we could afford such situation for a long time. And I think that only helps us to revival, to develop our economy without reliance on anybody else.
Okay. Okay. You're talking about multipolarity and how you say that Trump's foreign policy in terms of managing his country vis-a-vis the rest of the world and the Russian foreign policy is in some alignment. But talking about recently, a comment came in from Russia and other nations which are part of BRICS to have a currency that is going to compete against the US dollar. Again, how is this idea going to be acceptable to the United States of America? And if Trump were to be bringing Russia and Ukraine to the negotiating table and playing a major role over there, what is it that he is going to gain if there are competing theories and competing currencies that he will be time and again fighting against?
So I think that there are two separate problems. Ukraine conflict could not be solved only by Trump efforts. What he really can do in that situation, it is to step aside. Only one thing he could really do and influence the situation is to get United States out of this war. And that will make the huge impact on all the situation, because without American supply and American absolute power, I think the balance of power on the battlefield will change radically and very soon. So the only way to put the end to the hostility is to get out of Ukraine and stop military help to Zelensky's regime. But concerning Trump's opposition to BRICS currency, so in that sense, he has all the right to behave in that way, because he wants to save the power of the dollar on the global scale. I don't think he will be capable to do that, because financial global system was organized by the enemies of Trump, by globalists, and they have transformed the national currency of United States of America in something as global currency, undermining the financial sovereignty of United States of America. And when Trump wanted to replace the head of Federal Reserve System, he has received the radical opposition from globalists. So Trump is not fully in control over his own country or over his own American financial system. So I don't think he behaves in that sense as sovereign leaders, not yet, but I think we need to continue to promote BRICS currency, because that means multipolarity in financial field.
Then who do you think, which country do you think has a potential role to play to act as a mediator between Ukraine and Russia? Because somebody has to bring both the countries on the peace table for the peace talks to happen. There have been attempts that have been made by Turkey. China has shown interest as well. United States of America, you already know the position that Trump holds. There have been talks of India, which does not have any bias, whether it is Russia or Ukraine, as a possible country that could intervene in the matter. How do you think this could play out?
I think that we appreciate very much all the efforts to put the end to this war of all our friends of India, of Latin America, of Turkey, of China. But I think that the other powers are less capable to do something serious than United States. United States could really influence the situation if they stop the military aid to Ukraine, and that will mean the road to the peace. All the other countries, with their goodwill and very noble intentions, they could not propose nothing to both sides of the conflict, because they have neither tools nor understanding of the real nature of this conflict. We appreciate that as the friendly steps, but I don't think that it is something really serious.
Okay. Talking about the recent terror attack that has taken place in Kashmir in India on April 22nd, it has once again brought to the fore the scourge of Islamist terrorism. How must the world fight it together?
So I think, first of all, that was very sad, tragic experience for India, because the response of this terrorist Islamist attack may be provoked by globalists, maybe not just by Pakistanis, but by globalists. They wanted to create new front against multipolarity, and the Kashmir was precisely the territory that is very fragile. But I think that India has seen that all the idea to put India in quote with the West, something like Pacific NATO, that was totally disaster. So, and as a critical moment, nobody came to help India in this conflict. And I think that India now should maybe revise its own strategy, because India is a civilizational state. India is the great power, emerging pole of multipolar world, and it could not depend on nobody outside India itself. So I think that is the lesson, very difficult lesson to India, to think more on its new position in the world. India could not rely on the United States, could not rely on the Western NATO powers, and behind Pakistan was China, and behind India nobody. So I think in that sense India should revise its own geopolitical position in order to fight more against radical Islamism, because it is the tool of other players, global players, who support and organize these terrorist groups and attacks.
Okay. Why do you think there are very few countries and international organizations, the likes of the United Nations, that are willing to admit the role of Pakistan in breeding and backing terrorists in its home soil and using them to strike India multiple times in the past as well?
I think that because terrorism is not neutral phenomenon, it is geopolitically weaponized and used and instrumentalized. So if some group of terrorists are fighting on the behalf of one of the global center of powers, they will be never recognized as terrorists and so on. We see these double standards in all the history of Middle East conflicts. So if, for example, Turkey recognize some terrorists who fight against them. The Turkish government doesn't recognize the terrorist groups that fight for interest of Turkey, as in the case of Al-Sharaa in present Syria. So there is no such thing as international terrorism. In the reality, the different fractions, different groups, terroristic groups, are used on the behalf of some global powers, and that blocks the possibility to blame the terrorism as method, because it is used by great powers cynically. And for example, the global powers, global West, uses for the same reason terrorist Ukrainian regime now in order to undermine Russian influence.
Okay. Now, in a world of multipolarity and the new world order that has emerged, what role can BRICS play in confronting Pakistan and radical Islamist terrorism for the terror linkages that have emerged and India has provided ample proof of?
I think we need to reinforce the structure of BRICS, because BRICS is too generalist organization. It has no constitution, no some principles accepted by everybody. So and Islamic world is too polarized. There are Shia factors, the Sunni, radical, less radical traditional Islam. So we need to reinforce the BRICS in order to make this organization efficiently. So I think that in that sense, we need to spend more attention to security issues inside of BRICS. So, but the conflicts, for example, are quite possible in all existing alliances. For example, in NATO context, there is the conflict between Turkey and Greece. They are hostile countries, and that doesn't mean that NATO is totally ineffective. So the things could coincide, but we need to put much more attention to elaboration of the common map to fight against radicalism, extremism, and terrorism in all our BRICS countries, because we suffer, all of us, we suffer from that. In Northern Caucasus, Russia as well suffers the radical Islam. So and China in Xinjiang district. So we are confronting with the same threat, and we need to find a way how to deal with it together.
Aleksandr Dugin, you have visited India in the past as well, talking about the future of India-Russia relationship here on in wake of the current circumstances. How do you see the relationship grow?
I think that India, it is the most important power for the future. The growth of the economy and the new wave of self-understanding of the Indian civilization, Indian identity, Indian culture, and greatness of Indian civilization, all that put together, that is the huge opportunity for the multipolarity. And I think that Russia should develop all form of the mutual connections with India in economy and ideology and the culture, in the science, in the high technology. So when in military field, so we have no problem at all between our countries. No disputed lands, no territory, nor competition. So we are totally interested in developing all kind of mutual projects. So there is no threat from India to Russia, from Russia to India, and we have complementarity in all the possible imaginable fields, and we should speak and think more about the future of our cooperation, not only about the past. So I think ahead of us, ahead of Russia and India, there are huge opportunities, and we need to explore more and more and start profound civilizational dialogue between our civilizational states in order to create, to imagine, and to implement, to realize the common future of multipolarity, where India should play one of the most important roles as a great civilization with totally particular, totally original culture and identity.
All right, on that note, that's all the time that I have. And thank you very much for joining us, speaking with us. And I look forward to having more of such conversations in the future as well. Thank you, Aleksandr Dugin, for joining us.
Thank you, with great pleasure.
All right, on that note, I come to the end of this special interview. Thanks for watching NewsX World.